Hello guys, welcome to another video of Electrofun channel, and in today's video we will discuss about should you buy a Raspberry Pi Pico board that is going hype in the electronics industry and everyone is talking about it. Should you really buy it, or is it really worth buying? Because you have lots of boards across the electronics industry: Arduino Nano, ESP8266, 32, STM32 and many other boards. So what makes this board special? Why should you buy, or is it really so that should you really buy it? So without a further ado, let's get into it. So the whole electronic industry and hobbies are going crazy about this particular Raspberry Pi Pico board because it is the first ever microcontroller board ever by Raspberry Pi team, and that it launched in earlier of January 2021. But seriously, this microcontroller board doesn't have any reset button. Like, seriously, what? Raspberry Pi Pico board, which just got launched in 2021 in the era of Internet of Things, doesn't feature any IoT connectivity options. Also, if you pay the same amount of money or some more amount of money, you will get ESP32 board or ESP8266 board. Both have better options of Raspberry Pi Pico, better ROM, better RAM, better clock frequency, and of course IoT options. And also Raspberry Pi Pico doesn't have reset button, but these two boards of course have a reset button at least. And let's say Raspberry Pi Pico wasn't meant for any IoT device, then let's assume its nearest competitor will be Arduino Nano, which will be, although the weakest competitor ever, because STM32 can be the equal competitor of Raspberry Pi Pico, but I didn't have used STM32 board, so I cannot make any comment about that. But Sir Andres have already made a video on that. Link is in the description, make sure to check that. But let's say Arduino Nano, which is the weakest competitor to Raspberry Pi Pico, because Arduino Nano has lesser amount of ROM, lesser amount of RAM, lesser amount of clock frequency even. But still, one thing that Arduino Nano has that Raspberry Pi Pico doesn't have, that is Arduino Nano has a built-in EEPROM that Raspberry Pi Pico doesn't have. I mean, seriously, Raspberry Pi. So Arduino Nano was launched back in 2008 and Raspberry Pi Pico has launched in 2021, but it still lacks many of the features that Arduino Nano has. And if Raspberry Pi Pico is that much capable of doing things and if that much handy, then it doesn't support Arduino Ide, which is the most used, most comfortable IDE across the hobbyists and engineers. But well, the problem will get solved very soon because Arduino has just announced that they will make their own RP2040 based chip, or the so-called Arduino Nano RP2040, very recently. So in couple of months or few of months we'll get another Arduino Nano of 2021 version that will include the same chip as Raspberry Pi Pico. That means we'll get the same functionality and of course better than Raspberry Pi Pico because you will get the comfort of Arduino Ide. Like always, not everything of Raspberry Pi Pico is bad. It is really very good in terms of power consumption. Even if you run the blink LED example, it will consume as low as 18 milliamps power, and it doesn't need very much high stable amount of voltage to perform good, because Raspberry Pi Pico can perform very well even if your power supply is 1.8 volts. And also Raspberry Pi Pico has another possibility, that it has an inbuilt temperature sensor that's really much more accurate than any available DHT sensors in the market. And also, if you head on to Raspberry Pi Pico website, there you will get a very good getting started documentation as well as MicroPython SDK documentation and C++ SDK documentation, and their animations are so good that you can understand very easily from their animations how to start your device without watching a single YouTube video. So now let's come to our original question that triggered our video, whether you should buy a Raspberry Pi Pico board or not. So in my opinion, no, not for now, because if you spend similar amount of money, you can easily get ESP8266 board, or a little bit higher, then you can get ESP32 board. Both have much greater functionalities than Raspberry Pi Pico has, and also of course they have IoT enabled features. And if you don't want to go to IoT, then you can always go for Arduino Nano, because Arduino and ESP, all these boards are compatible with Arduino Ide, the most comfortable platform ever. And you can also go for STM32 board, which is well documented by Sir Andres. Link is in the description. So currently wait a bit, because Arduino Nano will get another version of RP2040 that I have already mentioned. Wait for that, or you can wait a little further, because Raspberry Pi organization will also launch their own IoT enabled microcontroller board, because as they have already entered into the microcontroller journey. So I'm quite sure about that. You can wait for that also. So this is all for today's video. I hope you guys have liked it. If you don't like it, you can give a dislike, but if you like it, please hit the thumbs up button, and don't forget to comment your thoughts and your suggestions in our comment section below, and also don't forget to subscribe. Share this video with your friends. Thank you.